Calaroga Shark Media.
Hidely ho, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news, and let's talk about that greeting. Now, I've been doing that, think I'm channeling Ned Flanders, but it came up in trivia the other night, and they asked, how does Ned Flanders greet people? And I wrote down Hidely ho, but no. Ned Flanders apparently says hi diddly ho. So I didn't get the point in the trivia game, but I got the Dave Chappelle question correct. I shared that in the Facebook group, Daily Comedy News Podcast group. Hi, happy Saturday. Maybe, perhaps, possibly, they've figured out what to do with John Mulaney's show next week. The guest, David Letterman, finally. Letterman also dropped an episode of his show, My Next Guest Needs No Introduction. His guest is WNBA star Caitlin Clark. It's not what I want out of you, Dave. I'm not going to watch that. Now, Dave is, mostly in retirement. He doesn't care if I'm going to watch or not, but I don't want that. Can Mulaney interview Caitlin Clark and let Letterman screw around with a weekly talk show? Can we make that trade? Because I would watch that. Great lineup next week. David Letterman, Hannibal Buress, Leanne Morgan, Nikki Glaser. Music by Randy Newman. Maybe he'll do I Love L.A. So they are pulling out all the stops next week. Nikki Glaser, Letterman, Leanne Morgan, Hannibal Buress. Fantastic. Everybody's live with John Mulaney. Streams live on Netflix Wednesdays at 10 East, 7 West. Because John opens the show with that very exciting, it is 7:02 in Los Angeles. It is 59 degrees. John, take my notes. Ask Dave how to do it. Come out, tell 2 jokes, and roll into the show. You're not doing this right. And by the way, if you give me David Letterman, Nikki Glaser, Hannibal Buress, and Leanne Morgan, and Randy Newman, and you can't hand in a good show, forget it. It's not going to get better than that. All you have to do is go, hey guys, what's up? And shut up. And an hour later go, all right, good night, everybody. That's all you need to do with that panel. If you're in the UK and you're like, boy, I wish we had Saturday Night Live. Well, they're making Saturday Night Live UK. It'll launch sometime in 2026 on Sky Max and the streaming service known as Now. Same format, guest host, musical guest, and a cast of British comics. The CEO of Sky Studios said, for over 50 years, Saturday Night Live has held a unique position in TV and our collective culture, reflecting and creating the global conversation, all under the masterful comedic guidance of Lorne Michaels. The show discovered and nurtured countless comedy and musical talents over the years, and we're thrilled to be partnering with Lorne and the SNL team to bring an all-British version of the show to UK audiences next year, all live from London on Saturday night. Google tells me in the States, SNL Studios is a production company founded in 1997 as a joint venture between Lorne Michaels and NBC Studios. NBC Studios is now Universal Television, the production arm of NBC Universal, a subsidiary of Comcast. So some version of NBC's got their hands in this. Lorne's going to get paid. A lot of money to be made out there. I hope they show it in the States. A bunch of comedy specials coming up. Jessica Kirson will have a special on Hulu on April 25th. Now, I don't know this because a Hulu publicist sent me the notes, because that would be too easy. No, I was on the internet and I stumbled across this, so I'm happy to tell you. Jessica Kirson's I'm the Man premieres April 25th on Hulu. Jessica tells the Daily Beast, I've been doing stand-up for over 20 years, and this special is truly special. My stand-up has always stood out to the audiences I perform for, my fans, and especially to other comics. I'm the Man is me embracing everything I am, the crazy voices, the characters, and the fact that I'm fearless on stage. Jessica says, people need to laugh now more than ever. Is that so? Did they pass out a pamphlet to all the comedians that you just have to say that in an interview? Is not every comedian saying, people need to laugh more now than ever? Has there ever been a point in history where, everything's chill now, people don't really need comedians, but, if you want to laugh, that would be fine. Everybody needs to stop saying people need to laugh now more than ever. Jessica continues, after everything we've been through these past few years, I wanted to create something brutally honest and authentic. I wanted the audience to know they're not alone, that I struggle too. I pride myself on being an entertainer. I wanted people to see a show, not think too much. That's what people experience, a fast-paced ride. I'm so proud of what I've created. I can't wait for the world to see it. Also, I'm filled with fear. Now, I could play a clip here, except the Hulu publicists don't get back to anybody. I don't have a clip to play for you. I guess they don't want you to watch their special. That's fine. I will not be stopped, because I have found out that the next hilarious thing on May 30th is Ricky Smiley. His is called Fool-ish, with a hyphen between the L and the I in Fool-ish, taped at the Lyric Theater in Birmingham, Alabama. The special is said to be infused with his trademark humor, characters, and satire on life and pop culture. It's his first special since 2011, and Smiley says, I knew after over 10 years I had to offer something that would satisfy my fans. I've been through a lot of transformation and trauma these past few years, and I was determined to get through it and think that I'll have a deeper connection with my audience from my experiences. We can find humor in so much of life. Fool-ish is for people of all ages, for those who grew up playing with Etch-a-Sketch, to those who were raised on iPads. Brett Goldstein, we have a date for his special on Max, April 26th. You can sit home and watch Brett Goldstein, The Second Best Night of Your Life. Now, HBO does this annoying thing where they don't release it until 10 p.m. Eastern. You know, Johnny Mac's falling asleep at 10 Eastern. How about 7 Eastern, guys? If you're like, who's Brett Goldstein? He's Roy Kent on Ted Lasso. Now you know who this is. They've even shared a trailer, and it's a big bag of, okay, I had to make some edits here because there's some naughty words we're not going to use on this podcast, and overall I find the trailer okay.
Cookie Monster is an addict, but we are meeting him at the point of addiction where he's still fun. In a few months, you don't want to be hanging out with Cookie. Cookie is a nightmare very soon. My mum is really hot. Recently, I've been speaking to lots of couples in long-term relationships, and I've been asking them about their sex lives, because I am a pervert. I'm vaguely distracted by a child in the front row. Are you a human child? Okay, well, you're going to learn so much.
Cameron Esposito talked about her new special with the LA Times and says it's meant to be art. Sadly, stand-up comedy can sometimes just be goofing around, and it is. But also I wanted to feel like the experience of a manic episode, which is what the special's about. There's meant to be 3 sections within the special. The first is just the stand-up special that you're used to with more traditional camera angles. The second is when the camera shifts to being almost up my nose, which is meant to sort of feel intense and a little panic-inducing. And then the third act is filming in front of an all-white background where the club disappears and reappears as I talk about the experience of being medicated. I haven't seen this one yet, but that sounds like a little too much for Johnny Mac. How about you stand in front of a brick wall and you tell some jokes? How about that? Cameron says, Dropout let me build a fake stand-up club. It would be cheaper to shoot at a regular club, but I wanted to be able to control the exact camera angles and where the audience was placed so that we could pull off this idea of escalating energy and being on stage. Part of the reason I chose this job is that being on stage also induces like a mini bipolar cycle. So literally being on stage floods the brain with those chemicals, like those very positive endorphins, like the feeling of working out or drugs, because it's also the same chemicals that happen when people take cocaine. What is going on with this special? Can't we just stand in front of a brick wall? So being on stage and all those chemicals being released and the excitement of that, I wanted people to feel that and not just feel it in the way when you're shooting a special and there's like a crane shot and it's very far from the back of the stage and you're getting this grand feeling of stand-up, which is also important to stand-up is. But stand-up, when you're watching it, my favorite thing is being in the room. Cameron adds, I think that something that stands the test of time are those specials like Carlin that are really about this bigger question, and they answer it with an arc. Bo Burnham has done a great job with this, Hannah Gatsby, all those specials I think will have a lasting effect and change the art form. And these specials that are kind of like sermons, they have a point. Or, hear me out, you stand in front of a brick wall. I was hanging out with some civilians. Now, these civilians are my friends. We were at trivia night the other night, and they started their own conversation about what comedy specials they were watching. We usually talk about, hey, what are you watching, Bill? What are you watching on Netflix? What's good this week? Bill, as soon as it comes out on Netflix, Bill has seen it. So I asked Bill, what should I be watching every week? So one of the guys had watched Bill Burr's special and really liked it. And then the 3 of them were like, yeah, Bill Burr. And I didn't want to chime in and be like, excuse me, I'm a comedy snob. I think it's actually Bill's 7th best special. Here's why. I just went, yeah. They also talked about Nikki Glaser and found her to be a little graphic. They weren't offended. They weren't shy, but they were like, oh my, I can't believe she says such things. Personally, that's not my style of comedy. And they were bored by Chelsea Handler. So that is 3 civilians at trivia night reviewing comedy. You can agree or disagree. Let's hit Gossip Corner real quick. You might have been there in Adams County, Pennsylvania. You're at the Civil War Museum and Shop, and in walks Matt Rife. Yeah, the Union Drummer Boy Shop. Posted on social media, Matt Rife stopping by to check out some historic artifacts. It is unclear if he bought anything. From The Guardian, Australian comedian Alice Fraser not coming to the U.S. after receiving legal advice that she could be stopped at the border because of Trump jokes. Really? Overreact much? Alice was going to apply for an O-1B visa, which The Guardian tells us permits comedians to live and work in the U.S. if they demonstrate extraordinary ability in the arts. But after widespread reports of people being denied entry to the U.S. and travelers being detained, Fraser sought advice from an immigration lawyer. Alice tells The Guardian, I asked the lawyer what I thought was a ridiculous question, that I do political satire and have a fair few jokes floating around on Elon Musk and Donald Trump, and whether that be a risk. I thought I was being paranoid, but she said it might pose a risk and they'd almost certainly Google me. Are they doing that? Which reminds me, by the way, Trump, Elon, doing a great job. Nobody's a bigger supporter than me. Anyway, back to the show. She said while the vast majority of people will be able to travel in and out, they're definitely doing increased scrutinizing. Johnny Mac doesn't want to go to the comedy gulag, guys, if this is a thing. I mean, I'm just recording stuff on the podcast. You guys are doing great. Keep it up. If I didn't have 2 children, I might be more open to taking a risk, but the vision of me being there with a baby strapped to me and held up and hassled or worse, I'm not up for that. According to The Guardian, foreigners have had their devices searched at the U.S. border and been denied entry, including a French scientist who had messages on his phone critical of Donald Trump. Fraser says, I will go to the America that will have me when it's no longer reasonable for a visa lawyer to say I should purge my social media before I go there because a joke about Elon Musk might be considered hostile to the nation. Are you at C2E2 2025? They're in Chicago, and they have a track for comedy fans this weekend. Patton Oswalt was there last night. Second City is there tonight. Let's see who's at the various festivals. It is the final night of the Traverse City Comedy Festival. 3 o'clock, Funny Women of a Certain Age. 3:30, Kamikaze Comedy Show. 5:30, Big Fun Murder, an improv murder mystery. A Next Up Comedy Showcase at 5:30. 6 o'clock, Mark Maron. Whoa, I love Mark Maron, and it's happening at 6 o'clock? I could see a comedy show and be in bed by 7:45? Perfect. 7 o'clock, Leanne Lord. 8 o'clock, the Comedy Rumble with, looks like, I'm just skimming here, probably about 15 comedians. That's different than the Daily Dozen Showcase, also at 8. A second Mark Maron show at 8:30, but I'll be in bed by then. 9:30, the Out of Towners Comedy Showcase. 10:30 p.m., a Dirty Showcase, and at midnight, Comedy Karaoke. Nice job, Traverse City Comedy Fest. I get to delete that tab until next year. And my browser fills up, guys. I can't keep everything open. In Nashville, Dan Cummins at 5 o'clock. Again, my kind of show. 6:30, a Zanies Showcase for The Tonight Show. That's interesting. Dan Cummins again at Zanies at 7:30. Jay Leno at the Ryman at 7:30. 8:45, another showcase for The Tonight Show. 9:45 p.m., Pete Lee. And at 10:45, the Dark and Dirty Showcase. And I don't know if this is a mistake or they put it out of sequence. It says Saturday, April 12th, 4 o'clock, Yakov Smirnoff. But I'm going to guess this is a mistake and this is actually Sunday. Let's see. No, it says April 12th. All right, they put it out of order. Yakov Smirnoff at 4 o'clock. I'd probably be at that. They have some more shows tomorrow. And let's go down to Austin, Texas, where it's all bro dudes with shaved heads and muscle T-shirts and all the other stuff we hate as they ruin comedy in Austin, Texas. Those jerks, right? Isn't that the current narrative? 4 o'clock, Josh Johnson. Also at 4, Don Reed. Boy, Saturday afternoon comedy's a thing, huh? Josh does another show at 7. Handsome Live with Tig Notaro, Fortune Feimster, and Mae Martin at 7. Ricky Lindholm at 7, Josh Johnson at 9:30. Josh doing 3 shows in a row. I don't know if you want to see that third show, guys. And Alex Moffat at 9:30 at the State Theater. Out of everything I just talked about, Mark Maron and Early Bed. How's that sound? It sounds great, Johnny Mac. I know. And that's a lot for a Saturday, right? Yeah, let's go do something else. Why are we listening to podcasts? It's the weekend. See you tomorrow.